Well, howdy, folks. How's it going today? I hope everyone's doing really good. Well, we got a Martin D1 acoustic on the bench here. I'm working on some cracks in the top. And I did have this in a previous video, just a little clip of it. And this one was really dirty. I scraped the green mold off the fretboard and got that cleaned up the top and back and sides. It was pretty gnarly. Looks pretty nice now, actually. So this is a spruce top, mahogany back and sides. It's double bound, rosewood board. It's got a satin finish, kind of a stripped down model, but still a nice guitar. Now it had these two big cracks behind the bridge. There's two braces that run right there. I'm guessing they're braces. They look to be original. Now this was repaired prior to hitting my bench, so I don't believe that's from the previous repair because the cracks run right down each side of those pieces. So if they did add them, then, they missed the crack altogether. So again, these run right from the back of the bridge to the back of the body. And they're straight, too. So that leads me to believe those are definitely original to the guitar. Now, there's no cleats on the inside either. Basically, they just put some glue in the cracks, pinched it together, and called her a day right there. So it did come apart again. Now, I've pumped some glue in here already, and I'm about to do it one more time just to make sure I've got this sealed up. Then I'm going to fashion some cleats to go on the inside, which is going to be tricky because it's right up against these braces. So, I'll have to see what I can come up with there to try to reinforce these. Now, one of them feels pretty decent. It doesn't seem to move much. Neither one of them really move now. When I first started, the one closest to us was separated. I could push the top down on one side of the crack and you could see daylight right through there. So it wasn't functioning properly, and it was definitely just going to keep going, I'm sure. So we're going to fix it right and get it back online. Okay, so what we're going to do here is pump some fish glue in. This is something that I come up with. We got a suction cup here. I melted a hole through it with a piece of hot coat hanger, a welding rod or something. I can't remember now, but I attached it to a piece of clear gas line, a tubing, if you will, and I've got this primer ball hooked to the other end of it. So you can hear that it pushes air through the suction cup. Now, the reason I come up with this was really just simply I was doing it with just the suction cup and pushing the glue down through, but I found that every time I picked the suction cup up, it was pulling glue back up through the crack. So it just, take more repetitions to get it filled in and that kind of thing. So I come up with this little design here, and it seems to work quite well. It will definitely force glue through there without any issues. So I'm using fish glue here. I'm just going to put a run down each one of them. A pretty good amount. Now fish glue cleans up really good too with just some water and a cloth. So that's why I like to use it versus like super glues or that kind of stuff. So what I'm going to do here is just spread this glue out so my suction cup is sitting in nothing but glue here. Now simply just give that a good push on the primer ball, and I just make sure I pick the suction cup up before I let off it, and that really drives it home. You can actually just hold constant pressure on it if you want to too. Just hold the suction cup there, keep pressure on that ball, and that will drive it through if it's, not a tight crack there. So it just takes the guesswork out. I know it's getting in there. And I've had good luck with it. Really easy to make. But if you want to do it with just a suction cup, that works fine too. I've definitely had a lot of experience with just a suction cup too. It works great. Like I said, I find this just takes out, you know, one more round of it. Usually within a couple sessions with this glue pump, I'm guaranteed that it's gonna penetrate all the way through. Okay, let's get a damp cloth and we'll clean that right up. All right. Start right by the back of the bridge here and try to get most of it off. Now, if you have a little residual left, it will still come off with, you know, a damp cloth too. So, again, the fear factor is a lot less using super glue versus this. This stuff dries really like crystallize. It's really hard when it dries, and it holds very well. All right, I got to get a little more water and a couple more swipes and we'll be good. All right, well, we got most of it cleaned up here. It looks a lot better. What we're going to do now is cut a few cleats out. I got some spruce here. It's kind of rounded on both sides, and I'm just going to cut some small pieces out for the cleats there. I might thin them down as well, just a little bit, just so it doesn't numb the sound too bad. Okay, so I'm just going to cut probably 2 or 3 out. I think I'm only going to need it on one side, or one crack, I should say. The other one seems to be decent, and whoever put the glue in before actually got enough glue down in so it hooked to the side of that brace back there, and it's pretty solid. So I think I'm going to be good with just probably doing one side for now. If it changes, then I can always add some more. I'm just using a hacksaw here. Small razor saw works really good too, but where this is thin, I'm just going to use this right now. It just happened to be on the bench. Alrighty, well, we got some high-powered magnets on the guitar here on the top, and we have the cleats installed. I did end up putting one cleat on the other crack, as you can see. We got 2 on the worst one, or the one that I felt was the worst. And this just helps to hold that while, you know, the glue sets up and keeps everything snug and tight. You can use jacks to do this, little scissor jacks. You could wedge a piece of wood in there, whatever you need to do. I find the magnets work pretty well. There's other ways to do this too. If the crack is spread apart, you can take an old tuner, guitar tuner, and, you know, put a hole through the cleat and use the bald end to actually, you know, hold the cleat, and then you can use the tuner to pull the cleat into place and cinch it tight with the machine head, if you will. Those work pretty well too. I kind of hang on to my junky style tuners just for that reason. You know, if I need to make a few of those, I have them on hand. Pretty simple. So we're going to let that dry. The guitar is looking a lot better. We've got it cleaned up, like I said, and the frets are cleaned up too. I did shine them up and recrowned a couple of them. It did have some pretty pronounced string groove down on the first position. I think we can get away with it one more time, but it is going to need a refret eventually. It has the usual narrow Martin fret wire, which does wear out pretty quick. Now, if you're using heavier gauge strings like 12s or 13s, it wears it out quite fast. So, you know, you have to refret them sometimes. That's just what it is. It doesn't hurt them. It just keeps them going. Alrighty, we're going to let that dry. And while we're doing that, we're going to move on to the next nightmare here. Well, it's not really a nightmare, but it could be before it's over. This is the Ibanez Destroyer that I just recently acquired, 1977. The pickups in it are not original. They're a little microphonic, although they do sound pretty nice at a lower volume. When you start turning it up, things get a little squealy. So it wasn't working when I first brought it in here, and I changed the parts in it and got it going again. There's been some, internal routing and whittling that went on at some point, but it's all hidden and it doesn't bother a thing. The problem I'm having here with this right now, and these were brand new CTS parts that I installed here, they're all messed up. Like, you can pull them up and down. I don't think this first knob was new. I think I replaced the middle volume knob and the tone. Now, usually when I come across that, it's usually from driving the knob down on the pot and it's too tight. I know better than that, so it wasn't that. I was very careful about putting the knob on, but this one has dropped right down out of sight. So we're going to tear this apart and see what's going on. And while I'm doing that, I'm going to dig out some pickups and get the meter out, see what I got for pickups. I'm really thinking about putting some different humbuckers in here, adding some push-pulls on the volumes. The pickups would have to be 4-wire, obviously, and a master tone. I'd like to be able to split them, at least get all I can get out of this guitar. This is really fun to play, and I've been enjoying this a lot, playing it lately. It really feels good to play. It's really resonant, and it just looks cool. Okay, so let's tear it apart and see what we got. Alrighty, off with the knobs. See, that one's really loose. I mean, I can pick that up a 1/2 inch. I think that one's new too. So the middle one is original, and these two are not. So we got to take a peek at that. And while we're in there, I think I may unhook some of it. I don't know. I'll get some pickups out first, and we'll see what I got for replacements. We'll go from there. All right, I just dug out some pickups out of the cabinet here. Let's see what we got. We'll hook the meter up and start testing. Okay, well, my multimeter's messed up, but I think we can limp through the video. We got an Epiphone stamp pickup here, and I'm going to have to touch this lead onto the multimeter because it's broke off the little plug that goes into it on the ground side. Let's see if I can do it. There we go. Sorry for the delay, folks. Well, 12-11. That's pretty potent. We'll set that. It's not a 4-wire, it's only 2 though. But I will set that off to the side. Alright, I got a couple sets of these ESP design pickups. And these are 4-wire, so you can split them. Now let's see what they ohm out at. Okay, so we're looking at about 11.4445. Now that's with the ground on the black wire, and I have the positive on the red wire. The green and white are tied together. Let's check across that. I'm thinking that's going to be single coil. So yeah, 5.72. So that's what we'd be looking at with a split. Somewhere around there. Alright, let's check out another one. Okay, so this one's a little bit different. Now I've got the ground hooked to the black wire. I don't know if you guys can see that. And I have the the positive side of the multimeter hooked to the green and white, which are tied together. Looking at about 7.38. Okay, so I jumped I left the ground or the green on the black wire coming from the pickup. The green and white are tied together, and now I'm hooked to the red wire on the pickup. And we're looking at 14.72. That one's pretty warm. I think we'll set that one to the side. All right, let's see what this one's like with both coils on. We're looking at around 11.77, 8 in that area. I've got to buy a new multimeter tomorrow or today, as soon as I can. Okay, so now we're hooked. That was the ground to the black wire and the positive from the meter to the red wire on the pickup. Now we have the black wire hooked to ground coming from the pickup. The green and white are hooked together. That should give us a split. Yeah, 5.78. Okay, so a couple of them are relatively close. I did find one that was a little hotter, so I've set that one to the side. I do have another one to test. I got to strip the wires back on it. These sound pretty decent from what I remember, and they're well made, so we'll see. This isn't permanent. I'm just experimenting with this. I do plan on trying to find a original set of pickups for that Ibanez Destroyer, but they're a little pricey. They want $350 a piece for a Super 70 pickup now, so I'm not going to sell the guitar, so I'm just going to try to get it set up so I can enjoy it to its fullest, in my setup taste. Okay, here's an oddball that I found in the cabinet. It looks like it's got epoxy on the back of it. It looks like a EMG or an active, but it's not. It's a passive pickup. I can see the rails inside there. So I'm not really sure what this is. Let's see what it ohms out at and go from there. Whoa, 18.81. Man, that one is, that's got some resistance. Holy cow. I don't know what that is. It looks like one of the ears are broke off where it would be mounted too. I'm going to have to see if I can fashion something for that. Boy, that's a warm one there too as well. I don't know what that is. I really don't know what it sounds like. That's what this is all about. Okay, we got a Jackson humbucker here. Let's see what this one's got to say. Now, this is only a 2-wire, so I wouldn't be able to split it, but again, 15.44. Man, that one's got some heat too. Okay, so this one goes with it. This is a Jackson too. That one is about 7.97. That's quite a difference. So I put the hot one aside. I'm gonna have to go through these, watch my own video probably, and write these values down, and then really sit down and try to map out what is going to be a good route for it. I don't necessarily want the hottest humbucker I can find. I just like to find a set that would kind of match up, so to speak, or at least have the resistance, sort of close, not exactly. I don't want to go from 18 to 8. That's quite a difference. You'd really hear that and notice it. Now, if you guys are testing your pickups, my meter is obviously in rough shape, so I got to get a new one. I'm using jumper cables just hooked to the meter, and it doesn't matter which way you do it. It's gonna test the same, and you're just measuring the resistance in the pickup. So I'll reverse them right here. All right. 7.98. So either way, it's going to work. It's going through the coils of the pickup, and it's telling you how much resistance is there, okay? Now, the more resistance doesn't always necessarily mean it's going to be hotter. It'll be darker, more than likely. It's an experimental thing. You have to just take it one step at a time. I recommend keeping track of what you're doing as far as taking notes. Now that we have, cell phones that shoot decent audio quality as well, put your pickups in your guitar, record them. If you're going to change them, you can always have that reference to go back and watch that video and just make sure that you're not going in the wrong direction. And that's not always the wrong direction, so to speak, either. You have to experiment to find out what works the best in that setup. Sometimes that means changing the pickup several times and going downhill to figure out that what you had from the get-go was really the magic, if you catch my drift. Now this one with 18, that one's, I'm gonna have to try to find out what this is. I really have no clue. That's not wax, it's like epoxy on the bottom. They filled it. Really odd. If you guys know what that is or have any idea, I'm sure this come out of an inexpensive guitar that must have rolled through the shop here at some point. So it does work, obviously. That's a pretty high reading, but that's okay too. So I got to pick this mess up, and I think that's what I'm going to do next is just go through some of these. I'll write them down on a piece of paper and mark each one. Just put a piece of tape on it, write the value, so that way I can lay those out and try to map out what I think I'm going to want in that guitar. Now again, it might not work. It might sound worse than the pickups that are in there, which again, those ones sound okay, but they're so microphonic that you really wouldn't even want to play a gig with it. Even a club gig would be risking a lot of feedback with them, especially the neck pickup. So, it's not the end of the world. I can always put those back in there. So, at first, when I first started doing this, I was really leery of ever messing with my guitars and trying to modify them. And, I didn't know what I was doing. But eventually, I just started doing it because my guitars weren't cutting it the way they were. And I have certainly ruined a few guitars in my life messing around with them too. So, work on the cheap ones. That's the best way to do it. Purposely buy a cheap guitar and just start messing with it. That's the best way to learn this stuff. So again, how you test your pickups, just set your multimeter to ohms, and you can test it either way. We'll get into a video. I would like to do a video and get into 4-wire pickups and touch on, like north stat, south stat. You'll see that on diagrams, go over that a little bit with you guys, what that all means. But I figured this would at least, get you guys headed in the right direction. And at least you can measure your pickups. Now, if the pickups are not out of your guitar, remember this. You can plug your cord into your guitar. Take a set of jumpers like I have here, hook it around the barrel of the jack, hook the other one right on the tip, just like that, okay? You got this little line that separates these two halves. You're good to go. Turn your volumes up on your guitar. and it should tell you what the resistance is, and you can use your switch to go from one pickup to the next. Pretty simple. If they're out of the guitar, well, we just went over that too. So you guys should be good to go and be able to measure your own pickups. Multimeters are not that expensive. Obviously, I need a new one. Mine has really been through the ringer. It's lasted a couple years, which is really shocking because I'm pretty hard on it and I use it all the time. So, well, folks, I hope this helps you guys out. You know, just take it one step at a time. It's not rocket science. You don't have to be Alvin Einstein to do this. Just take your time. Think it through. Try to match things up that are similar, if that's what you're going for. If you'd rather have a screaming humbucker in the back and something soft in the front, you know, that's always an option too. There's no rules to this, so let your conscience be your guide, basically. All right, we'll see you guys real soon. Be good. Okie doke.